Hey, crazy friends.
Hey, guys.
It's Jay and Francis back with Fine You're Crazy. We're a family of 9 traveling full-time in our RV with 6 of our kids as we travel the country to see every continental national park. And today we're coming to you with another family tour guide for Hot Springs National Park. Not the first one on everybody's list, and it's definitely got some unique things about it, but today we're going to tell you about all of the things that you have to see when you visit. So obviously every national park is unique. I mean, that's part of why they become a national park. But at the same time, normally when you're thinking about national parks, you're thinking about something grand and outdoors and not something in the middle of a small city, which is what this is. It's one of those few national parks that has an urban setting. But set that aside, it still has a really unique history and a lot of neat things to see while you're there. Hot Springs is exactly that. It is a grouping of hot springs. In fact, it was discovered by Thomas Jefferson when he was president. He was the one that secured the Louisiana Purchase for us, and while we mostly think about that being this huge out west, it actually was also way down south. And so having not explored that a lot, he sent 2 guys down south to explore the southern reaches of this new territory that we had bought from France. And as they got down there and started looking around, they started hearing from the Indians and the natives that they had to visit the Valley of Vapors. What in the world is that? Well, when they got there, it was all of this mist coming up off of 47 natural hot springs that come up out of the ground right at the base of this mountain there. And they're incredible. The water comes out at like 140 degrees and something like 850,000 gallons a day of it come out. And it's been like that since they found it. And so they came back and reported this to Thomas Jefferson. And so it started to get a little bit of news. And so people started coming to bathe in the waters because they thought it had medicinal effects. And so it began to become very, very privatized. And so Andrew Jackson, about 30 years later, as our president, said, you know what, we're going to take this land and we're going to set it aside as a national reserve. So it's unique, even though we all know that Yellowstone was the first national park. Hot Springs was actually the first, back in like 1832, the first land to be purchased and set aside for national purposes. So it's been owned by the Natural Park Service the longest. It's just really, really, really unique.
It is.
And so then once they bought it, that's exactly what it became. It became a row of ever-changing bathhouses. They would get torn down and upgraded. They burned down like 3 different times. It's ridiculous. But over the centuries, it became to be very, very popular for people to come and bathe in these waters.
Baseball players.
Yeah, it's got some really unique stuff. The baseball players back in the 30s began to come, and they would do their spring practices there so that they could bathe and soak in the afternoon. Babe Ruth, Cy Young would come, and then it's kind of its darker side. It got to be really popular with the mobsters and the mafia.
It's like a gangster town.
Like all these mobsters that were normally rivals from these big cities would come here. Al Capone even bought a permanent suite in the Arlington Hotel there and started a restaurant called the Ohio Club, which is still there. We actually ate at it.
You can go to the Arlington and actually go by and see these rooms. You can go by each of those rooms. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So it's got this really, 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 really unique, really unique history, which makes it different from all the other national parks.
For sure. And I have to apologize to Hot Springs National Park because truly it was just a check-off point on the way to the big boys of the West, like Yellowstone and Moab and Arches. Like there's those guys that are huge. And so you just really want to get out there. And so this was just a scratch off on our lovely map, and it's a sticker to put in a book and a stamp. But I will tell you, it has the neatest charm about it. The downtown area is just so fun. There is just such a uniqueness, and truly our kids loved Hot Springs for its very unique way of becoming just a vibrant part of this national park history. And so we really enjoyed it more than we ever thought that we could. And so I have to apologize to this national park because it was on the lowest of the lows. But I would encourage you to take a little bit of time, go out of your way, and make sure you visit Hot Springs National Park because it's a little jewel in the middle of this little bitty town.
And it's not going to take you long. I mean, honestly, in one single day, you can do everything that it has to offer because it is really just a little small town. And that brings us to our first family pro tip, and that is bring some quarters. What?
Like, that amazes.
There's no charge for the park because it is in the middle of the town, but you do have to pay to park. And while there's a few free spots
downtown
on the street, a lot of it is metered parking. And so we were scrambling one day for quarters.
Right.
So make sure you bring a few quarters for the parking. But once you get parked right there in the little downtown area, this is our second pro family tip. You want to take some time to enjoy not just the park, but the little downtown area as well. Lots of cute mom and pop cupcake places, ice cream shops.
One that was on Cupcake Wars on the Food Network. So you definitely got to go and get you some famous cupcakes for sure.
And then make sure you take time to eat in one of the little restaurants. Like I said, we ate at the Ohio Club, which is the gangster one, but we also ate at a really
Just Jay and I did.
place. Great.
We take the kids to another couple of like a Mexican place. All right, what'd you get?
Seafood.
Lots of seafood.
That's squid. Look, you can see the legs.
I think it's octopus, not squid. You going in, Sky?
I haven't figured out what it is.
Octopus.
Is it?
It's just really a cute little town with
It is.
lots of
Lots of
neat
little
shops,
shops.
lots of little soaperies and places that kind of build on this Hot Springs kind of bathhouse row area. So you'll really enjoy getting to go downtown and do some shopping and just really enjoy this kind of small town feel that it has.
So once you've kind of walked around the downtown, then you're ready to actually hit the actual national park. So that brings us to our first must-see of Hot Springs National Park, and that is Bathhouse Row and the Grand Promenade. And so Bathhouse Row is literally what it sounds like. It is all of the historic bathhouses that are still there that sit along the road.
And they're
all
beautiful.
in a row, Bathhouse Row. But then don't just stop there. At the end of it, you want to go look at the water cascade that comes down, and there's a set of steps that you go up, and then you walk along behind them, and that is the bricked Grand Promenade.
Beautiful.
Very unique between the two. And every bathhouse has a historic placard in front of it where you can read with the kids and kind of see some of the pictures. A lot of them have pictures in the windows where you can see what they were like when it's not COVID. There's actually two that are the visitor centers that you can actually tour with the national park. But we were there during COVID, so we just got to look in the windows. But even window shopping the bathhouses, it was a really, really neat experience.
But we actually got a chance to go into the bathhouse, so I would say absolutely.
Yeah, this is our third pro family tip is take a bath.
Take a bath. Like, well, hopefully you take baths every day, or at least a couple of times a week. But anyway, that's your business. But you should take one communally. I know that sounds really weird, and it was kind of weird for me, especially during COVID. But I will tell you, it was such a neat opportunity. So our oldest daughter that travels with us, Virginia, and I decided we were going to have a spa girls' day together. And so we left all the little kids and the boys at home, and we headed over to Bathhouse Row, and we got an opportunity to go. I think it's Quapaw. I don't know, but you'll have to tell me if that's the right way to say it. But we got an opportunity to make a reservation. So you, for most of them, some of them are walk-up. So during COVID, there are some of them that are a walk-up, but ours allowed for reservations. And so each bathhouse is kind of doing things differently. So you need to make sure, do your homework, figure out the way that which one you want to go to, because they're very different in their style and nature. And they also offer different services. So when you look on there, you'll be able to pick what kind of spa service that you want. Some are full spa services. Some for us was just to be able to take a mineral bath. And so you really can spend an entire afternoon there if you really want to get the full treatment of facials and massages. They have lots of different different types of massages and things like that. But we just chose to go ahead and to do the iconic kind of mineral bath. And there's two different kinds, at least in the one that we were in. There was a public one, which the public bath there was only $20. And you can have, there's several different pools in there, and you're able to go there.
Cool.
But because it was COVID and we just weren't really sure about being in a bath with other people, we just didn't understand what it was like. We chose something that's called the private bath. And so Virginia and I were able to choose our own area. We got it all to ourselves, and they draw the bath for you. It's in the mineral, with the mineral waters. We got different salts and different types of different aromatherapies in there. And then they give you the wonderful, iconic mineral water that Hot Springs is known for. And so we were able to get that and just enjoy about an hour opportunity to see the history, to look at the beautiful insides because they are gorgeous. And
Lots of
also
marble,
just to
stained
kind of
glass.
do something quaint and really what Hot Springs is known for is to bathe in those amazing springs. Now they weren't 100 and something degrees. They do tone that
Cool
down a
down
little
a bit
bit for the bath, but it really was a really fun activity. So if you get the opportunity, you can take a private bath or you can do it. And so when we walked through, the communal baths were really neat. They just really limit the amount of people. Obviously, everybody wears their swimsuit, and you're able just to, yeah, that's a good point. That may be a pro tip. Bring your swimsuit. There's that. It's not that kind of bath. And so anyway, it's really was a wonderful opportunity. So I would say if you get the chance, you should do that just to kind of step back into history, be a part of what this town really iconically is known for.
Joe, what does it feel like?
It feels like when you like wash dishes, like really hot water.
All right.
Yeah.
What about the green stuff?
It's disgusting.
are in our own little private hot springs area, and so we are getting our mineral water straight from the hot springs, so that's super yummy. And Jenny has a iced latte. We found it very interesting. It's like 107-degree index outside, and we're in a hot spring bath. But anyway, it's super nice, super wonderful, so we're gonna enjoy. What do you think about the cucumber water?
It's water.
With cucumber?
So once you've enjoyed really what is the iconic part of Hot Springs, there's actually a secondary part to it. So not only does the National Park Services own Bathhouse Row, but they also own the mountain up behind it, where
pretty.
so many of the hot springs are. There's actually 47 hot springs that are still there. They've capped most of them off, and so they're basically these big green boxes, but they're all named. You can see them as you're going through town, and that helps keep them clean, because they actually do have fountains where
people drink out of them.
The people from the city, they come and fill up
big jugs
upon jugs of the drinking water. And so that's our next pro family tip. If you're wanting to drink some of the water, there are 3 different places where they just have fountains that it comes out. But it comes out at 140 degrees.
It is so hot.
And so do not be bringing your Nalgene or your glass bottle. Make sure you've got something that you can put it in to let it cool down.
Insulated.
Before you drink it.
Yes.
But once you've enjoyed all that, you're ready to actually go up that mountain. There are 2 loop roads that wind their way, mountain loop roads that wind their way up Hot Springs Mountain. And then when you get to the top, our next must-see is Mountain Tower. So on the top of Hot Springs Mountain, they have built this gigantic tower that you can actually take an elevator up into. And then when you get to the top, the views are amazing, but honestly what I enjoyed even more is when you get to the top of the elevator, there's a circular room, and then the balcony runs around the outside of it. That circular room is completely encompassed with history of the park.
At the top.
The baseball players, the
gangsters,
the mobsters, the fires, the Indian history. I mean, everything. So I really enjoyed that part even more than the views, even though the views were definitely amazing. And so you definitely want to go and take a trip up to the top of Mountain Tower.
Tower, you see Hot Springs National Park in every direction. On Bathhouse Row, the Bookstop is the only continually operating bathhouse, which has offered hot baths and spa services since 1912. The plaque, notable for its distinctive dome, offers more modern bathing and spa services. It reopened several years ago after being closed for more than 20 years. Bathhouse Row represents a long series of bathhouses built to bring the hot waters of a federally protected spring to visitors with varying degrees of luxury. The first structures built for this purpose were put up in the 1800s, but none of those structures still stand. Many iterations of bathhouses have taken the place of those lost to the various floods and fires of Hot Springs history.
So once you've done Bathhouse Row, the Grand Promenade, and Mountain Tower, you've pretty much exhausted all that there is there at the park. I mean, literally, we're telling you, even with eating lunch in town, you're talking about a day experience. But the good thing is there are a couple of other things to see right around it. Actually, one specifically that we were blown away by. As you're walking up and down through the town, you'll actually see some billboards and different things for Garvin Woodland Gardens.
Amazing.
Now, we're not telling you about the gardens. The gardens are botanical gardens that it costs to get in. But what we are telling you is you should go there for our next must-see.
Yes.
And that is Anthony Chapel. Anthony Chapel is an unbelievable 160-seat chapel that they've built outside of the garden, so you don't have to pay.
Free.
You go there, you park in their
go.
parking area, but instead of going into the garden, you just go over to the chapel. It is unbelievable.
There are no
only
words.
160 seats. But it has got 9,800 square feet of windows in it.
Beautiful.
It is floor to ceiling. They basically aren't any walls. They basically built beams and then just filled it in with glass. And the ceiling is 57 feet high, and it is just this interconnected working of pine beams. Like, you have to see it to believe it. I mean, it is one of the most beautiful things, nestled in the woods right outside of this gardens. Everybody in our family was blown away, and we couldn't even go inside.
No, we couldn't.
Because of COVID. Normally you can, unless there's an event happening there,
Right.
a wedding
or something.
But it was unbelievable, and there's a matching chime tower that's right outside of it. You need to take the few minutes. It's right outside of Hot
Springs. And we heard that the gardens are very beautiful.
Right.
So it was really hot, and we
didn't
just
wanna go
weren't
walk
going to
around
do that.
anymore.
We didn't have the time, but
the chapel.
you need to see the chapel. And there's also some really pretty gardens around the chapel that
yeah,
are free to go see. So we saw some really pretty areas. So really, you could do that and for free enjoy a really nice morning and walk around there and maybe not even have to go to the botanical gardens, but you might want to do that.
But our
You'd have
pro
to tell
family
us.
tip on this one is to call ahead because they do have lots of weddings and lots of events there. And if that happens, then it's completely blocked off. And so just call ahead to make sure that they're not having anything. And then you're ready to go and see this amazing location for free.
Yes.
So that pretty much sums up Hot Springs National Park. Again, a very unique park,
But
one that you should be surprised by.
Because we're learning that each and every national park, like Jay said at the beginning, is set aside for a purpose. And so when you go with that in mind, and the expectation is to learn and to enjoy each for what it is, not comparing them to each other and rating them, but really just going and enjoying it, kind of leaving those expectations at the door and just be amazed by each one in their own right. And so we have a question for you. Which national park have you been to that surprised you the most? This by far is the one that surprised me the most. I had such low expectations, and really it's the most charming, adorable,
Very quaint.
really beautiful place, and we loved it for what it was. And so which one surprised you the most so that we can look forward
So put that down
to
in the
other
comments.
ones? Yes, in the comments for sure.
All right, so we hope you'll join us again. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, you can click right over there. Please do that.
Yes.
That way you can follow on not only our national parks, but all of the amazing opportunities that we have between those.
Yeah.
Lots of travel vlog
Yes.
stuff that's in there. So make sure you click that so you don't miss any of that. But if you do enjoy this family tour guide of the national park, click on that playlist and you can catch all of ours for all the national parks that we have done so far. So until next time, go out and have some crazy fun with your crazy family. See you guys.
Bye, guys.